Okay, I'd like to open up the MTA Finance Committee meeting for the month of July. We have any public comments?
No, sir. There are no public speakers today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of June 21st. Second? Second. All in favor? Carry. As I understand, no change to the committee work plan.
Right. The next item then is Finance Watch.
Finance Watch is in your committee book on Roman numeral 4-1. We have a transaction to report. This is an issuance of transportation revenue bonds, Series 2010C as in Charlie. This was a $510 million transaction that closed on July 7th. Proceeds of the bonds will be used for existing approved transit, commuter, and bus capital projects. We had two sub-series of bonds, a tax-exempt series, a small tax-exempt series, and then a large taxable Build America bond series. If you turn the page, you'll see that the bond statistics for the two sub-series and then on a combined basis. The all-in TIC on a combined basis was a 4.28% with an average life of 19.7 years. We did notice we were in a kind of a changing market period where spreads on the Build America bonds to the treasuries were much wider than what we had seen, and this was a dynamic that has been continuing in the market. Nonetheless, we're essentially about the same cost of funds as our prior transportation revenue issuance. Barclays Capital was the book-running senior manager on the transaction, and they were assisted by Loop Capital Markets as co-senior. We had Lamont Financial. This was their first transaction as financial advisor, and Nixon Peabody as bond counsel. Happy to take any questions on this if there are any.
Any questions?
Pat, it was a very slippery, difficult market, and I think while we don't like the spread to treasuries, I think everybody was feeling the widening of credit spreads at that particular time. We're hearing that there's a slightly firmer tone right now, but it's very ephemeral. It's here today, gone tomorrow. What sort of plans do we have for issuing BABs over the balance of the year, given the fact that it's not clear whether they're going to get extended into next year?
Well, we don't have any specific BAB plans for the remainder of the year. We're working on, and as an action item later, we are working on a commercial paper program that, assuming that goes forward and we get that issued, that should take care of our new money needs for the remainder of the year. So, I would just say at this point there are no specific BAB plans between now and the end of the year.
Then I'm also very, very happy to see the summary statistics that you've put in the report. It's a lot more disclosure than we've formally been getting, and it's great. Thank
Okay,
you.
Sure. Behind that, you see upcoming financings, and again, we'll talk about the commercial paper in a minute, but that program is, we're working on that to be issued in September. And then we do have a liquidity facility that we're working on replacing right now as well, and we'll report back to the committee next month on how, or I should say at the September meeting, on how that's going.
Are you going to discuss the commercial paper program at all? I know there's a staff summary report, but I was hoping that maybe we'd have a little bit more detail about what we're paying on these various LOCs.
Sure. You want me to do that now?
Only if it's the next thing you're going to talk about. I don't want to get down to sequence.
Okay. Yeah, it's the next thing. So.
Okay.
Sorry, Jim, can I ask one question
Sure.
on BABs? I'm not a member of the committee, but a concern has been expressed by some issuers of BABs that the federal government under the legislation has the right to withhold the 35% interest subsidy if the municipality or issuer owes money to the federal government. A, is that a concern with respect to the MTA? And B, might we find ourselves in that situation?
This dynamic does exist, that to the extent that we owe money to the federal government, to another agency, for another reason or purpose, before that subsidy payment is made to us on our interest payment date, the amount owed could be reduced out of the subsidy payment. I think, a pretty common feature with respect to subsidy payments from the federal government, that everything is channeled through so that if there's money owed, you're not going to get your subsidy until that matter is taken care of with the feds.
I think it's worth just emphasizing that point, that this is not a new and unique feature of federal subsidy money, that in general it's all hooked together, so that if you owe them money on one thing, they can offset it with the next payment that they would give you. Right. And it's not as though this is the only federal money that this agency is looking to receive on an ongoing basis for the foreseeable future. So that I don't think that this is a unique vulnerability in this program.
So, Mark, this is your world and not mine, and I defer to you, but does that mean that when MTA, Bob and his team make decisions as to whether to do BABs or traditional tax-exempt debt, this subsidy recapture issue shouldn't be of concern? And if it shouldn't be, I withdraw the question and let's move on.
I think it's certainly... I think, you know, when the BABS program was originally structured, I think some of us were concerned about the reliability of the ongoing nature of the payment from the feds. I think it's gotten to be large enough and well enough established so that the original doubts about whether the state subsidy was going to continue for the life of the debt have pretty much receded. And I think that this question that the subsidy could be offset with our owing money on another thing that we received from the feds, I don't think that that's a significant factor for us, at least, because we already have that financial factor in our expectation for other revenues from the feds going forward. At the end of the day, you know, as a public issuer, we have the choice of issuing tax exempt or using the BABS program at the moment, and I actually believe that you're really supposed to look at whatever's cheapest for you.
Okay.
I mean, it's not as though we're looking to pay more in debt service than we can possibly avoid to cover our needs in the capital markets.
Thank you.
Correct.
Just one other question. Have we actually had any money withheld of our subsidy?
To date, we have not, no.
Okay, because we've been a large visible issuer of these products, and I know that one of my clients actually had $5 withheld from their subsidy for a payment that a city didn't make, and this was in a subdivision of a city. The second question is, they're also auditing some of these programs. Have we received any correspondence from them about?
Of an audit, no. We are responding to some requests for information, but there's not a specific audit that's been initiated.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the MTA financial statements for the first quarter ended March 2010. We will be looking at them at audit at 4 o'clock, and it looks like they are ready and available.
All
Mike?
parties agree. Everybody's in good shape with that. Unfortunately, it was a month late, but I believe it was a month well taken. It was intense, it was consistent, and essentially everybody agrees on the results. Deloitte & Touche will be here in the afternoon to discuss that and other issues. And right now they're in draft format. Upon approval of the audit committee, they will go out on the web, and we're done with the first quarter.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, action items.
Mr. Chairman, there were some questions about the CP program. Were you going to cover that, Pat?
That's an action item that will be coming.
Great, thank you.
Okay, transportation revenue commercial paper program. It's next.
On page Roman numeral 5-1 is a staff summary describing transportation revenue commercial paper. Before you are two resolutions described here in the staff summary. The first resolution is the resolution to issue, to authorize a bond anticipation note, and that's how we issue commercial paper under a resolution called a bond anticipation note. Under the statute, we can have such a note outstanding for 5 years, at which time we need to issue long-term bonds to finance out the obligation. And so there is a second resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds to pay off the commercial paper from time to time. We are currently in negotiations with 4 banks, as you see listed at the bottom of your page: TD Bank, Barclays Bank, Royal Bank of Canada, and Citibank. Together, they are proposing to provide liquidity in the form of letters of credit to a total of $900 million. I would just note that this is a program that's our commercial paper program has been in place for over 10 years, currently with ABN AMRO Bank. ABN AMRO Bank has recently gone through a fair amount of turmoil and upheaval with respect to their ownership. They are not renewing this letter of credit. They're getting out of this business, and that program expires in December. So this program is being put in place to continue to allow us to issue the commercial paper and take advantage of very attractive short-term rates. The resolution is written such that, and I would just note that the resolution is written such that if negotiations with any of these banks fail to come to a successful resolution, we can go out and find a replacement bank to come in their place. Again, so long as we're within the $900 million limit that the board is being asked to authorize now. You had asked about costs, and
I withdraw it if you're in procurements with them.
Well, we are in negotiations. I would just say that we're looking at facilities, as you can see here, ranging from 2 years to 3 years, and costs ranging from in the 70 basis point range to the 140 basis point range. And I would just leave it at that. This is a kind of a serious negotiating point with all the banks, and we'd like to. Given that we have a lot of facilities coming up for renewal in the coming years, this is going to be a matter that is sensitive and important for us to try to get the best cost we can for these facilities.
Could you maybe, for the benefit of the committee, talk about the types of rates that we get on CP, so maybe everyone, including the public, understands what a valuable instrument this is and how cost-effective it is?
Sure. The commercial paper can be issued in very short maturities, ranging from days all the way up to 270 days. That's the limit. And typically, it's driven by investor interest, whatever they're looking for in their particular portfolio, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and so forth. We've seen rates well inside of 1%, ranging from anywhere between 40 to 80 basis points is kind of a typical range that we're looking at here on our commercial paper. We do pay a fee to the dealer who's putting that paper out to investors. And currently, with our 3 dealers that we have on our ABN AMRO program, we're paying 5 basis points. We have not resolved those negotiations with dealers on this program, and but I would expect to be in that range. Sorry?
We pay a big charge on that?
The bond issuance charge is not paid on the commercial paper itself. It's paid on the bonds when they're. Right. That's a good question.
And how are we selecting dealers? Is it going to be the same 3, or are you selecting new dealers?
I'll be making recommendations to the chairman directly as to dealers. They will be the recommendations will come from our existing pool of senior managers, and
will price factor into?
Price will factor in, as well as capabilities and competencies in serving as dealer on CP programs.
Any more questions? Mark?
Yeah, that capabilities, I mean, I assume that we actually track the performance of our different dealers?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Currently, our 3 dealers right now are Barclays, which is a continuation of the original Lehman assignment, J.P. Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. I will say that of those 3 dealers, Barclays has been the most aggressive in terms of their ability to price the paper at the lowest rates.
Mm-hmm.
And so that factors in, as well as performance on our we've got a large variable rate program of dailies and weeklies, and we'll be looking at performance on those programs as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Pat, you say there's a couple resolutions?
So there are two resolutions that are for consideration here. The first is the resolution to authorize the bond anticipation note under which the CP will be issued. Secondly, a resolution to issue bonds to pay off that commercial paper from time to time as necessary.
Can I get a motion on the first? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion on the second. Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I would just suggest that perhaps in future we should have them together, because I don't believe you can issue the bonds without having passed the resolution for the takeout bond.
I think that's a good point, yeah.
Okay.
So combine them, yeah.
Okay, resolution to authorize the execution, filing, and acceptance of federal funds. That's next.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need a motion to do that.
Second? Any opposed? Oh, carried. Okay, we have some procurements. We have 12
We
procurements.
have, I'll do that. We have 3 headquarter procurements for a total of $7,050,514. Need a motion?
Can I get a motion? Second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And we have, going to Metro North and Long Island Railroad, we have one action item to seek, we need the board to approve a modification to increase parking fees.
Get a motion? Second? All in favor? Any opposed?
Moving to commuter rail procurements, we have a grand total of 5 procurements for $84,812,225.
Get a motion? Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item would be MTA bus operations. We have one competitive procurement for a grand total of $61,424,152.
Can I get a motion? Second? Discussion?
As we discussed at the bus committee, obviously there are a variety of Buy New York issues involved in this, but, to move the project process forward, as we did in the bus committee, I would vote to move it to the board. We've asked the bus, New York City Bus, to provide us with some additional information with regard to the Buy New York provisions of both companies, which they said they would provide us with by Wednesday before the board votes. So in that regard, I would vote to move it and send it to the board, and then the board can take final action as it decides on Wednesday.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next, bridges and tunnels, there are no items. New York City Transit, no items for finance. First Mutual Transportation Assurance Company, there are no items for finance. And that would conclude the finance-only portion of this meeting.
Okay, we have some consolidated reports that we can review. I think they're given to us at each meeting. Next is the real estate agenda. Jeff?
Thanks, Jim. We have 8 items for board consideration and approval this month. I would just briefly highlight 3 of them. Previously, the board has authorized uncontested condemnation of room for a platform extension on the northbound side of the Fordham Road station in Metro North. and we have a proposed negotiated settlement of $392,000 for your approval. The Rosetta Stone item here, this is one of the kiosks in the Gray Bar Passage of Grand Central. We typically do not come to the board for approval of these items. We have a policy that allows us to do these month to month. But Rosetta Stone is a successful operator there and is coming up against a 2-year limitation. So we're asking for permission to extend by another 2 years our authorization to lease to them month to month at $7,500 a month plus 10% over a break point. And finally, the last item here that I would mention is the license agreement with S311 Tunnel Constructors for construction staging at West Side Yards. This is the first time since I've been here that I've come to the board with a ratification request. I typically like to do these things after approval, but there was an urgent need to put the tunnel constructor on site on what we call the terra firma in the West Side Yards on a short-term basis for 6 months. We're getting $20,000 a month, and it seemed like a way to make some quick money and to keep the project moving. So it is subject to a 30-day cancellation if you don't approve, but otherwise I would ask that you do.
Okay, any questions? Can I get a motion to pass all real estate items? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I need a motion to adjourn. Next meeting is Monday, September 27th at 11:45 a.m. Thank you.